A Letter to My Love, a philosophical and spiritual meditation on humanity, by Dr. Bin Ngolton.
Why this book? The world is advancing at a rapid pace, fraught with countless issues and conflicts. Pervasive topics such as wealth inequality, racial injustice, religious strife, perpetual war, genocide, poverty, homelessness, drug addiction, school shootings, LGBTQ+ rights, animal welfare, and environmental issues dominate our concerns or lurk at the periphery. Science and technology are evolving quickly, improving the standard of living for those fortunate enough to afford them. As we aspire to colonize other planets with technological advancements, we must question whether we will bring Earth's problems to our new homes, when that dream becomes a reality. As these never-ending issues escalate, multiple perspectives vie to explain their root causes, leading to countless debates without a clear and cohesive understanding. Without such a shared understanding, we are likely to work against each other as we all try to resolve the same issues from different vantage points. We desperately need an impartial and comprehensive system that can diagnose and explain the current ailments, grounded in truth and reality. Like anyone who cares about the bigger picture, the world, and the human condition, I have obsessively meditated on these issues. I aim to offer a perspective that strives to be rational, comprehensive, and systematic, one that can tie different phenomena together. The ideas presented here build on the foundational concepts introduced in my first book, The Ocean Within, Understanding Human Nature and Ourselves to Achieve Mental Well-Being. It is critical that we have a firm grasp on individuals' needs before we attempt to understand the needs of the wider system. In sharing my perspective on complicated issues, I will also share my honest feelings. Because these topics touch us deeply as they address humanity, it is normal to have strong emotional responses. In this regard, this book might be considered provocative because the thoughts and emotions presented are raw and relatively unfiltered. It is not for the faint of heart. Reading through this book is, in a way, a journey through my psychological, philosophical, and spiritual development over the last 2 decades. I write this book as much to address humanity as to process my own thoughts and emotions. Because I deeply respect that you are reflective and courageous enough to undertake this journey, I can be authentic and honest with you. This way, we can freely discuss challenging topics. If you are easily hurt or offended, this book is not for you. However, if you have the capacity to examine reality, no matter how difficult, this book can offer valuable insights.
How to read this book? Because this book reflects upon humanity, the best way to approach it is by examining humanity from a neutral perspective. If you have a strong allegiance to humanity, you may find it challenging to objectively consider the ideas presented here. Instead, your allegiance to humanity and the various identities within it may constrain you to a defensive stance, hindering your ability to analyze the human condition objectively and accurately. A more conducive vantage point would be to imagine that you are an extraterrestrial alien, or an evolved digital consciousness, tasked with observing and examining the human species. Any discovery, whether perceived as good or bad, should not feel personal to you. Divesting yourself from humanity enables a clearer, more impartial engagement with the concepts in this book. This book offers one comprehensive perspective, and you should also develop your own understanding of the state of humanity, similar to how you might have formulated a systematic understanding of the psychology of the individual through the first book. With detachment, you gain the freedom to truly pierce into the heart of humankind. One of the most critical tools for managing reality is to first truly understand it. As emphasized in the first book, the crucial trait of wisdom encompasses both knowledge and accurate perception. Wisdom can only be achieved if it is grounded in truth. Conversely, the absence of wisdom and truth leads to ignorance, delusion, and misperception. From misperception arises misunderstanding, which in turn leads to mismanagement and mishandling of situations. While the virtue of perseverance can guarantee success in most endeavors, one can easily expend significant effort on misguided pursuits for a lifetime, only realizing the mistake when it is too late. This fear underpins my valuation of truth and wisdom above even kindness and strength. Consider perception and its flaws through a simple example. Ever since I was young, I have been fascinated by the moon. In the vast darkness, its glowing presence gently illuminates the landscape. The crescent, a beautiful shape, seems to cradle and highlight the darkened core. I once perceived the moon as a flat, two-dimensional circle, and imagined sitting comfortably on its crescent, similar to the child in the DreamWorks logo, but reclining further back with a comfy blanket. As I grew older, I learned that the moon is a three-dimensional object, a sphere, not a circle. The crescent shape is actually part of the sphere's surface illuminated by the sun, hidden from view at night. Do you see the moon as a circle or a sphere? A new piece of information had transformed my understanding to better reflect reality. This simple change demonstrates that we can view the same thing with either a superficial or a more profound, accurate understanding.
Book overview. This book is divided into 5 main sections. Part 1. Expanding consciousness to all of humanity. In this section, we embark on an exploration of the human condition, diving into the expansion of consciousness toward all of humanity. It examines the systemic challenges we face, war, inequality, and the fragmentation of collective identity, through an intellectual lens, sparing readers from graphic depictions, but encouraging independent investigation. This part invites reflection on our shared humanity and the potential for higher consciousness to address the divisions and suffering that plague our species. Part 2. Expanding consciousness to the animals. Here, consciousness expands beyond humanity to encompass the animal kingdom. This section illuminates the moral and ethical dilemmas of humanity's treatment of animals, questioning the pervasive exploitation and disconnection from the living beings we share this planet with. While intellectual in tone, it challenges readers to confront the deeper implications of their actions and beliefs, urging them to reconsider their place within the web of life. Part 3. Expanding consciousness to the planet. The focus broadens to include the planet itself, exploring humanity's impact on the environment and the consequences of our unsustainable practices. This section exposes the disconnect between humanity and the natural world, highlighting the urgent need for a collective shift toward harmony and sustainability. Readers are encouraged to reflect on their role in the planetary ecosystem and to consider how higher consciousness can inspire a more balanced relationship with the Earth. Part 4. Personal reflections and philosophical meditations. This section offers an intimate glimpse into my personal journey and philosophical reflections on the current state of the world. Raw and emotionally charged, this section chronicles the phases of expansion, frustration, and realization that accompany the growth of consciousness. It serves as both a mirror and a guide for readers who may find themselves navigating similar emotional landscapes as they awaken to the realities of our world. Part 5. Spiritual Meditations and Path Forward. The final section transcends the material and intellectual to explore the spiritual dimensions of humanity, physical reality, and the higher truths that lie beyond. It offers a contemplative space for readers to ponder the nature of existence, the interconnectedness of all life, and the ultimate journey toward oneness. This part invites readers to consider their spiritual evolution as an integral part of their awakening to higher consciousness.
Setting the stage. Before we begin our discussion, I want to recap some important ideas presented in the first book, which become the foundation for elevating the understanding of the individual to that of the collective.
Revisiting consciousness. Consciousness is an interesting and enigmatic concept. I examined it at length in the first book and want to clarify it a bit further. In our known universe, modern material-centric science is well aware of two all-encompassing things: matter and energy. Simply put, matter is the substance that takes up space, while energy is the force that moves things. The laws of physics and chemistry are the description and prediction of matter and energy, especially because they are mindless. True prediction can only occur if the conditions of A always lead to B. The human mind and the human heart, however, is much less predictable because humans are mindful entities. The same inputs and conditions are processed within our consciousness, often multiple times in ruminating loops before we arrive at a conclusion. We do not always process ideas and events in a linear fashion, especially for important decisions or consequences. Every cycle of processing can potentially change the output. What is mind? What is consciousness? Is it matter? Is it energy? Is it both? Is it a synergy of the two that somehow gives it a unique attribute to break free from mindlessness? Consciousness, through control of the physical body, manipulates the mindless matter and energy in the environment. Human consciousness transforms Earth's natural resources into man-made structures, advanced technologies, and countless objects to support our lives. Aspirational science fiction has dreamt of terraforming another planet, changing the landscape and atmosphere for human survival. In the pursuit of living comfortably, consciousness naturally desires to manipulate the environment to enhance its survival. Consciousness is the force that seeks to create, destroy, and transform both matter and energy. The ultimate power to create and destroy is normally sanctified for the realm of God, and our conscious transformation of physical reality makes us godlike. We know consciousness is closely linked to the brain, along with its electrochemical circuitry and neuromessengers. Modern science attempts to understand consciousness in relation to the brain, and one prevalent interpretation suggests that consciousness is just a byproduct of the brain. This perspective posits consciousness as the direct synergy of the brain's matter and energy. Injury to specific brain regions has predictable functional consequences, directly shaping the brain's matter and energy through psychotropic medication, transcranial magnetic stimulation, or electroconvulsive therapy triggers an effect on consciousness. This intervention shows the direction of influence from the brain to consciousness, but does it also flow the opposite way? Does consciousness, beyond the capability to manipulate environmental matter and energy, affect the brain as well? When a person undergoes successful psychotherapy to cognitively treat depression or anxiety, the consciousness of the psychotherapist interacting with the consciousness of the client changes perspective, understanding, belief, mood, behavior, and consequently, the brain's functioning. Similarly, the consciousness of an author writing their thoughts into a book is capable of influencing the thoughts and feelings of their readers through space and time. We can envision the brain as the earth and consciousness as the weather above. One can affect the other. Psychotherapy, persuasion, propaganda, and relationships are consciousness affecting consciousness. If science achieves its dream of maximizing the brain's functioning to control consciousness, would we have precise electrical, magnetic, or chemical stimulation to the brain to turn people into robots? In daily life, human functioning and interaction operate at the level of consciousness, not at the level of brain circuitry. The strings of desire that pull at our basic physical and psychological needs are felt and expressed through our consciousness. This is the level that we have the most awareness and control over on a daily basis. Consciousness gives rise to thoughts that manifest through speech, transform into action, and consolidate into behavior. I want to focus our attention on human consciousness at the level of concepts and ideas, because these are the seeds that can change the world. In my first book, The Ocean Within, Understanding Human Nature and Ourselves to Achieve Mental Well-Being, I propose that consciousness is better understood as intentionality, to simplify the distinction between mindless objects and mindful entities. The existence of a life, the act of living, dictates that the entity is obligated to intend to live.
Revisiting the Circle of Needs and Fulfillment, CONAF. The image below is the Circle of Needs and Fulfillment, CONAF, that encapsulates human needs. Let's quickly review the basic concepts. Figure 1. Circle of Needs and Fulfillment, CONAF. By possessing bodies geared toward the act of living, that sense pleasure and pain, we are naturally designed to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. The human body functions optimally within a narrow range of temperatures and environmental conditions to maintain homeostasis. For instance, a person exposed to cold weather will reflexively shiver to keep warm as the body senses discomfort and seeks warmth. Similarly, exposure to hot weather triggers sweating as the body seeks cooling. Hunger pangs force us to seek food, and a twinge of thirst compels us to seek water. The body's needs dictate our behavior, with the gravest threat being impending death from starvation, disease, injury, or old age. These physical necessities of survival form the foundation for the CONAF. We all need safety and security, including good health, protection, shelter, food, water, and sleep. Because we are social beings who rely on each other for survival, we have an innate need for affirmation. We need to feel that we matter, that we are significant, and that we are valued. We seek acknowledgement of our existence, particularly from those expected to care for us. A baby whose existence is not affirmed by their parents or caregivers will perish from neglect. Connections and a sense of belonging are essential. For a species to survive, reproduction is necessary. The sex drive is an insidious force that compels us to copulate. While the majority of humanity is cisgender heterosexual, geared toward reproduction despite contraception, a minority does not fit this mold but is still driven by libido to engage sexually. A smaller minority is asexual. Survival requires us to develop competence to care for ourselves and acquire skill sets needed for daily living. We aim to be competent in various life roles as children, friends, students, workers, entrepreneurs, partners, parents, and members of society. As we gain affirmation and develop competence, we inevitably encounter competition for limited resources. The affirmation of our existence gives us a sense of uniqueness, allowing us to feel special. Mastery of competence allows us to triumph over challenges and competition, solidifying our sense of superiority. Living is not an easy task, and our minds are constantly observing and analyzing situations. Our minds have a natural need for stimulation, initially for survival purposes, and, if privileged, then for alleviating boredom. Children today often fulfill this need through electronic devices and online content, while older individuals have access to a broader range of stimulative options. Despite the biological imperatives to survive and reproduce, we desire meaning and purpose to our lives. We seek higher goals to drive us forward. If there is suffering and sacrifice, we want them to count for something. Many people find purpose in religion, others in acts of kindness. Some are content with simply living life to the fullest. Whatever the North Star, it propels us onward, of darkness and light, of vices and virtues. The way individuals navigate the complex landscape of life, whether making choices that prioritize their own needs or intentionally sacrificing their personal interests, profoundly impacts the development of virtues and vices. This dichotomy between selfishness and selflessness ultimately shapes not only the character of the individual, but also, collectively, that of humanity. At the heart of human nature lies a dark inclination toward selfishness. People often find themselves compelled to pursue personal safety, comfort, pleasure, luxury, and extravagances, possibly at the expense of others. This innate selfishness, driven by the desire for self-preservation and the satisfaction of personal desires, can cast a shadow over human interactions. In this darkness, we witness acts of callousness, cruelty, evil, and atrocity. Conversely, the light within humanity emerges through acts of love and selflessness. These are moments where individuals prioritize the needs of others, willingly sacrificing their own well-being for the greater good. Such acts of kindness, empathy, and compassion not only enrich the lives of those on the receiving end, but also elevate personal experience and spiritual development of the altruist. These moments of selflessness illuminate the path toward a higher and more loving plane of consciousness. Given that humans are inherently social beings, reliant on one another for survival and the fulfillment of various needs, there is a natural expectation of goodness in their interactions. Society relies on functional members who exhibit pro-social behaviors to maintain order, foster cooperation, and ensure mutual benefit. This societal pressure often compels individuals to conceal or suppress their selfish impulses, desires, and thoughts. The darkness that lurks in the hearts of humans, stemming from these suppressed selfish tendencies, underscores the constant struggle between self-interest and collective well-being. In essence, the tension between selfishness and selflessness is an intrinsic part of the human experience. It is a precarious balance that individuals must navigate throughout their lives. How people choose to address this tension, whether by succumbing to the darkness of selfishness or embracing the light of selflessness, ultimately defines their character and influences the choices they make. shaping our world.